So it's winding down. Getting about that time. Another quiet night. Kind of getting a little chilly out there now. 9th night up here on this billboard sign now. So I don't know how many people keep up with watching the news or whatnot ever. Maybe one thing people might want to check into or read about or kind of look into. It's a very interesting story about what happened down there in Kentucky with the sheriff that wound up shooting that judge in his chambers and killing him. Turned out that that judge was apparently molesting that sheriff's minor child, and had the minor child, which was the sheriff's daughter, had his phone number in that and his phone in that. And apparently the sheriff guy walked in there and confronted him back in his chambers and closed the door and let him have it, I guess. Kind of interesting story. I don't know why the sheriff thought maybe, he had to go to that extreme and do what he did. Maybe because he knew whatever, once it came out or something happened, or since this guy was a judge, how much of that would have been swept under the rug or hidden or whatnot. But maybe it was just a discussion, or just being discussed on what this guy that's been a judge and him being a sheriff and knowing each other for so many years and supposed to be so-called whatever, colleagues, friends, so on and so forth, co-worker, that the guy would actually go and do something like that to him. Actually sit there and do a disturbing thing like that to the guy's own daughter and that. To make it clear, I'm not saying that or putting this out there or making any accusation or claims that I'm making assumptions or anything whatsoever about this Jeff Watney that's the child molester. I'm not claiming or saying anything about him doing anything to my kid, touching my kid, or anything period on it whatsoever. I pray not. I don't want to think that. That's not my issue, or I'm not saying it's not something that's on the back of my mind, and it's because it is, and it's not something that I sat there was questioning or whatever. That's not even something that I could even get to needless to say. But I just want to make that clear, because it seems like the South.st. Paul Police Department, last time we had the same ordeal a couple months ago when I was on a power line tower for 7 days, trying to do what I'm doing now. And well, I guess I didn't make my point clear enough. I don't know, maybe it didn't draw enough attention. But to make it clear, my problem, issue, or concern is not me making any claims or accusation about him doing anything whatsoever to my kid or whatever, and that nothing was done and the guy didn't go to prison and they didn't investigate it. Now, just because I'm saying that doesn't mean that's what my problem and issue is, because that's what the South.st. Paul police tried to portray it and spin it off to and write it up in their police report saying it like that, because that absolutely 100% is not true at all whatsoever. And if you go back, the best way to describe it is if you listen to the stuff that I post on YouTube and listen to the older stuff and then see how much it progressed into where it's at today, it's more clear, more easier to understand than hearing about someone on a sign and then some crazy person and so on and so forth. But if you probably listen to some of the older stuff, you'd probably be more interested, and it'd make a lot more sense and understand why I'm trying to do something. And this is a lot of thought, a lot of thinking, a lot of it was a planned thing, and to come up with a way, a non-violent, non-confrontational, non-aggressive, something that's distance between me and them, and trying to force them into doing what is right, as they should have all along. And it's a scary, very scary situation to think when you got people in power and people that have control, and when you have people that have that much control and that much power, and what they do and how they wield it and how they decide to if they can do this, is a very scary situation. Very scary to think that this legal system can actually just do what they're doing and get away with it. And if I don't stand up and I don't make this attention and make this much noise to it, no one would know about it. No one would hear about it. None would be done. None would change. Everything would be the same. Or if you look at the Eli Hart story and what just happened with him, now you got to understand, after you hear about his story, just know that prior to him being murdered by his own mother, I was already almost dealing with this situation with Dakota County for almost a year. And then as that year went on, whatever, then I hear about what happened with this Eli Hart and started looking into that and how Dakota County just, it's all public. I mean, it's not all public record, I'm sure, but you can look it up. You can look up his court record. You can look up history on it. You can, I mean, I did a link to the Care 11 deal where they did a investigation on it, and you can see the police reports, the child protection reports, how many times Troy Hart, the father, wound up sending emails and letters to the county attorney's office, to the judge, to the child protection workers, and deaf ears. It ain't like deaf ears. It's their job. And if you brought this stuff to your attention, and what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to take it and address it and deal with it like how you're supposed to. Now, when they took that kid out of that home, put him in a foster like kind of situation where there was a guardian over him and he had a safe place where he was staying, and then they take him back and they put him back at the mom's house. Why would they do that? You know what I mean? I just don't get it. And then even when they put him back at the mom's house, what happened right away? Right away, even the school reported that there was concerns and issues and problems with him coming to school like that, and they did nothing. They did nothing. With all the other stuff that was built up and all the facts and all the stuff that was already on his case file log, like, how did they just ignored it and didn't care and like whatever? I mean, you just taking the kid, just, if you look at a lot to do with that case. I mean, if you read that stuff and you don't hear nothing about them holding their employees accountable or responsible for their actions or their misconduct and how they actually are handling themselves, how they treated that case. You don't hear nothing about these child protection workers being charged for any crimes. I mean, that's child endangerment, child neglect. As far as I'm concerned, that's like child abuse. I mean, that's even worse when you just put them in that home and you allow that and you just let it go. That's almost as worse as a person doing that. You're just putting them there to allow it to happen. I mean, you're supposed to be there to protect them, and you're supposed to be a legal system. I mean, I don't know. You can use your own opinion or judgment on that, but I mean, you don't hear nothing about these workers being fired or held accountable, or or the county attorney's office making any type of legal statement saying, hey, we're gonna take our job more serious and we're not gonna allow these people to act in this manner or conduct or whatever, and when we find out employees that are acting like this, that we will hand it and we won't be lenient about it, and other employees that decide to act in this manner, we're just going to make sure and let them know that we're not going to allow it, and we're going to take this more serious, and we're going to hold these employees accountable and responsible for their actions for this kind of misconduct. These are people's lives, these are people's children, these are people's families, you know what I mean? You're not just destroying this one little kid's life that got taken. Look at the mother that did it. Yeah, wrong, but you just destroyed her life. The county should be responsible. You put that kid in harm's way, and it's her fault what she did. She needs to take responsibility. But you put him in that spot for her to do that. You already know she was a mess. It's like you put it into a bad situation, and you set her up for failure. You put her in a way that you knew what she was going to do. You knew she was going to be faulty on what she was doing of being a mom, and she was neglecting the kid. You knew that was going to happen, and you still did it anyways. You put her in a spot where she was going to commit a crime anyways. And and you guys were afraid, the county or the child protection workers were afraid of that woman. And still, they even put the kid around that, knowing they were even afraid of her. I mean, it's mind-blowing, and you don't hear anything about them coming out and saying, hey, we take our job serious and we're not going to be allowing this, and we're going to have to, more professional. I don't know, maybe be a step up above everyone else and be like, you know what, we take our job serious and we don't take none of this light, and any misconduct, we take it very serious. You don't see none of that. They don't even take any of the serious stuff and even deal with it like it was a light, little, tiny situation. All of it, they just straight up almost disregard. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And to think, I don't know, I mean, there's stuff posted on YouTube on that, like the whole incident with the police, pulling her over, talking to her, and there's a link on my YouTube channel to all that stuff. I mean, if you watch that stuff, and you just don't hear about that stuff unless it draws that kind of attention, but it's not going on, and there's only a little incident here, one there, it's very rare. It's not very rare.